Ladies and gentlemen, you've never been the kind of person who thrives on surface level conversation. Small talk, the kind that floats in and out of daily life like elevator music, feels more like emotional static to you than connection. It's not that you're rude or standoffish. You can smile, nod, and ask about someone's day like the rest of the world. But deep down, you're silently yearning for something more, something that touches the soul, not just the social script. You want to know what makes someone light up at 2 a.m., not just what they had for lunch. You're the type of person who can sit with a friend for hours, letting the conversation meander through childhood wounds, dreams not yet spoken aloud, fears that still live quietly in the corners. You listen with your whole being, eyes soft, body still, heart open. And when someone finally peels back their layers and lets you see them, really see them, it feels like home. It's not just about talking, it's about the sacred act of being vulnerable together. You don't collect conversations, you collect truth. Because for you, depth isn't a preference, it's a necessity. Without it, relationships feel hollow, disorienting, like you're playing a part in a play you never auditioned for. You'd rather have one soul-shaking, honest dialogue than 100 casual interactions. You've probably been told you're too intense or that you think too much. But what they don't see is that your intensity is your gift. It's the fire that forges real human connection in a world that often prefers polish over honesty. And the beautiful irony, that very craving for depth, though it may make you feel isolated at times, is exactly what draws the right people to you. The ones who've been waiting for someone who won't flinch when the conversation gets real, someone who holds space without judgment, someone who knows how to swim in deep emotional waters, not just dip a toe in and retreat. In your presence, people finally feel free to bring their whole selves to the table, and that in itself is rare magic. You feel things deeply, sometimes overwhelmingly so. It's like your emotional antenna is always up, scanning the room, picking up on undercurrents no one else notices. A friend walks in and smiles, but you can sense the storm behind their eyes before they even say a word. A stranger's pain can stay with you for hours, days, sometimes longer. Your empathy isn't just emotional, it's almost physical. It sits in your chest, moves through your body, and asks you to hold space even when no one asks for it. You feel people's energy like it's your own, which can be both a blessing and a burden. And yet, despite all that openness to others, you don't open up easily yourself. There's a fortress around your own inner world, not cold, not cruel, but carefully constructed over years of feeling too much too often. You've learned that while your heart is vast, it's also vulnerable. Giving so much of yourself to others can leave you depleted, misunderstood, or worse, hurt. So you guard your truth. You hold it close. You share pieces of yourself slowly, like pages in a diary you're not quite ready to hand over. Some people might mistake your boundaries for coldness. They might assume you're distant or uninterested. But the truth is, you care deeply, probably more than they know. You just don't hand out access to your soul without intention. Because for you, emotional intimacy isn't something casual, it's sacred. You know the weight of someone else's story, and you expect the same reverence when it comes to your own. So you test the waters, you observe, you protect your peace, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. And when you do let someone in, it means something. It's not impulsive, it's earned. You offer your loyalty, your heart, your empathy, not as a performance, but as a powerful act of trust. And the people who are lucky enough to be allowed into your inner world, they discover a depth that's rare and extraordinary. Because once you feel safe, you love with a kind of soul-deep compassion that can't be manufactured. You see people, hold them, heal them, and maybe, just maybe, they do the same for you. You've always had this quiet sense of knowing, like your gut reads between the lines before your mind has time to catch up. You can't always explain it, but you feel the truth of things. The energy in a room, the unsaid tension in someone's voice, the subtle change in a person's body language. None of it escapes you. Where others see smiles and surface, you see the flicker of something unspoken underneath. You walk into spaces and instinctively know who's hurting, who's pretending, who's being real. It's not magic, but it feels like it. This isn't about reading minds or fortune telling. It's about emotional attunement. You're tuned into a frequency that most people ignore or can't hear. You notice the pauses, the contradictions, the small shifts in someone's energy, and your body responds before your brain has time to process why. Sometimes you just know when something is off. You can meet someone and immediately sense their truth, even if their words don't line up. And the more you trust that intuitive voice, the more you realize it's rarely wrong. But having that level of awareness comes with weight. It means you often see through masks people aren't ready to remove. It means you pick up on hurt others aren't willing to admit to. It can be lonely, holding that kind of perception in a world that often demands you ignore your gut in favor of logic or appearance. You've probably been gaslit or dismissed for it, told you were too sensitive or reading too much into things. But the truth is you were just feeling what no one else was acknowledging yet. And while it might be exhausting at times, your intuition is one of your greatest strengths. It protects you, guides you, helps you love the right people and leave the wrong ones. It pulls you toward places and choices that align with who you really are. When others feel lost, you often feel anchored. Not because you have all the answers, but because you've learned to listen to your inner compass. That subtle voice inside you, it's not guessing. It's rooted in lived experience, emotional intelligence, and an almost sacred ability to connect the invisible threads that tie people and moments together. Trust it. It's part of what makes you rare. You live in a world that often wants you to pick a side. Be the thinker or the feeler, the analyst or the empath, but you've never quite fit into either box because you are both. You can break a problem down with surgical precision, spot inconsistencies in an argument, and make decisions rooted in fact. And yet in the very same breath, you're tuned into emotional undercurrents, aware of people's needs, attuned to nuance and tone. You carry both a clear mind and a deep heart. Where others split reason from feeling, you see the necessity and beauty of both. There's a quiet power in that duality. You know when to lean on logic to protect your peace and when to let emotion lead because something feels right, even if it doesn't add up on paper. In conversations, you can hold space for someone's vulnerability without losing your ability to see the bigger picture. In conflict, you can navigate facts without becoming cold and honor feelings without becoming overwhelmed. People often come to you for advice, not just because you're wise, but because you can walk the tightrope between truth and tenderness. You say the hard thing, but you say it with care. But this balance you hold isn't always easy. Sometimes the world pushes you to suppress one side to be taken seriously. Be logical in boardrooms, emotional in friendships, never both at once. You've likely been misunderstood, called too sensitive in one space, too analytical in another. What people don't realize is that your ability to feel and think deeply is not a contradiction. It's an evolution. You're not confused. You're integrated. You're the kind of person who can solve a problem and sense the emotional ripple it will create. And in that, you offer a kind of wisdom that's increasingly rare. The truth is, your emotional intelligence doesn't cloud your logic, it enhances it. It gives you depth, empathy, and clarity. And your logic doesn't cancel out your emotions, it gives them structure and direction. You are the bridge between heart and mind, insight and instinct, softness and strength. You don't live in extremes, you live in the space where opposites coexist and inform each other. That's where your power is. In a world that often values certainty over complexity, you show up whole, proving that wholeness doesn't look like picking a side. It looks like embracing every side of who you are. For you, solitude isn't a luxury, it's survival. It's the place you return to when the world gets too loud, too fast, too full. While others recharge through noise, movement, or social connection, you come alive in stillness, in quiet rooms, in soft mornings, in moments when no one is asking anything of you. This is where your nervous system exhales. Solitude is where your thoughts unfold. Your creativity whispers. Your emotions settle into clarity. It's not about isolation, it's about restoration. It's where you remember who you are underneath all the roles you play. You've probably been misunderstood for this. People may see your need for space as distance, disinterest, or even coldness, but it's none of those things. You feel deeply, so deeply, that the emotional noise of the world can become overwhelming. Your inner world is rich, layered, and constantly processing. And to stay connected to that inner world, you need time away from the outer one. You don't disappear to escape people. You retreat so you can show up for them more fully, more authentically, more grounded. And when you reemerge from solitude, you're not empty, you're renewed. In solitude, your thoughts are uninterrupted. You can hear your own voice, not the projections, expectations, or noise of others. You find answers you didn't know you were looking for. You dream without boundaries. You grieve without censorship. You untangle the threads of your own emotions, your own desires, your own truth. While others may fear being alone, you find something sacred in it, something ancient. It's where you go not to hide, but to return. Because you know that if you don't make time to reconnect with yourself, you start to drift from who you really are. You don't need to be constantly surrounded to feel fulfilled. You need meaning, depth, authenticity. And those things are often born in solitude first. It's in the quiet that you gather your energy, your clarity, your courage. So when the world demands more of you, more performance, more interaction, more energy, you protect your solitude like a boundary. And rightly so, because it's not selfish, it's sacred. It's how you stay rooted in a world that constantly tries to pull you in 100 different directions. It's how you keep showing up whole, honest, and still entirely yourself. There's something in your mind that doesn't settle for randomness. When others are overwhelmed by the noise, you instinctively start organizing it, not necessarily in a tidy spreadsheet kind of way, but in meaning, in connections, in truths. You don't just see what's happening, you see why it's happening. You spot the thread pulling things together even when everyone else is tangled in the mess. You're not easily thrown by confusion because your mind is always zooming out, looking for the wider picture, the deeper rhythm, the silent cause beneath the loud effect. This ability makes you the one people turn to when everything feels like it's falling apart. You bring calm, not just by soothing others emotionally, but by helping them make sense of what they're going through. You'll listen quietly and then say something that pulls all the chaos into focus, like turning on a light in a dark room. It's not always that you have the answers, but you can see the map that leads to them. You notice patterns in human behavior, in relationships, in choices. You can tell when something is repeating itself, whether it's a cycle that needs to be broken or a lesson trying to be learned. But this ability comes at a cost too. Because you're so tuned into the patterns, you sometimes feel like you're watching the world from a few steps back. You can see when people are making the same mistake over and over, even when they can't. You can sense when a storm is coming, emotionally, relationally, energetically, long before others do. That can be frustrating, lonely even. It can make you feel like you're always bracing for impact or carrying the weight of seeing what others choose not to. But you carry it anyway, not out of pride, but out of love, because it's part of who you are. This pattern seeing part of you is a form of intuition and intelligence braided together. It makes you a strategist, a healer, a quiet visionary. You bring order not by controlling, but by understanding. You help people untangle their lives, not by fixing them, but by helping them see themselves more clearly. And perhaps most importantly, you use this gift not just outwardly, but inwardly. You look at your own chaos and ask, what is this trying to teach me? That's the rarest kind of wisdom, the kind that turns even the most painful mess into meaning. Loyalty for you isn't a casual concept. It's not something you hand out freely just because someone shares space with you. You don't do surface level friendships or performative connections. When you're in, you're all in. You commit with your whole heart. You remember the small things. You show up when it's inconvenient. You hold space when others walk away. Your loyalty isn't about duty, it's about devotion. And the people who have earned your trust know they are held in a rare kind of love, one that doesn't waver in the wind. But the truth is, that kind of loyalty doesn't come easily. It's not that you're guarded out of fear. It's that you know the cost of giving someone your loyalty. It takes time. It takes proof. You observe before you attach. You need to feel that someone sees you, values you, and shows up with the same level of depth you offer. Because you've been burned before, you've given yourself to people who didn't know how to hold you, who took without giving, who mistook your loyalty for weakness. And so now you've learned to be discerning. Your circle may be small, but it's sacred. When you choose someone, whether it's a friend, partner, or even a colleague, you hold space for their becoming. You don't flinch when they're messy. You don't disappear when things get hard. You stand by people not because they're perfect, but because you see their soul. You offer a steady presence in a world of conditional love. But you also know your worth. If someone breaks your trust in a way that crosses a deep boundary, you won't create chaos. You won't make a scene. But the door will close and you won't reopen it. Not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect. Because your loyalty isn't infinite, it's intentional. And that's the thing most people don't realize about you. Your love, your loyalty, your presence, they are earned and they are rare. You're not emotionally stingy. You're just deeply aware of your value. The people who are in your life, they've been chosen not out of convenience, but out of alignment. You would walk through fire for them. You'd hold their secrets, fight for their healing, speak truth when it's hard. You're not here for quantity, you're here for quality, real love, real loyalty. And in a world that glorifies fast connections and instant intimacy, your kind of presence is something people never forget once they've known it. Ladies and gentlemen, you've never been the type to chase the spotlight. Recognition might feel nice for a moment, but it's never been your fuel. What drives you runs deeper. Purpose, meaning, a quiet inner compass that doesn't shout but never steers you wrong. You care more about why you're doing something than who's clapping for you while you do it. When you pour yourself into something, work, a relationship, a creative pursuit, it's because it aligns with something inside you that feels true, not because it guarantees praise or approval. You're not playing to the crowd. You're showing up for something sacred inside yourself. And because of that, your work, your presence has integrity. You'll walk away from attention if it means compromising your values. You'll turn down an opportunity if it doesn't resonate with your deeper calling. You're not easily swayed by trends or external validation. While others may measure their worth in followers, applause, or applause-shaped metrics, you stay rooted in something steadier: impact, honesty, service. You don't need your name in lights. You just need to know that what you're doing matters and that it's coming from the right place. But that kind of path can be lonely at times. It's not flashy. It's not always understood. There will be people who overlook you because you don't self-promote, who misjudge your quiet focus as lack of ambition. But what they don't see is that your ambition is devoted, it's disciplined. It doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. And over time, your consistency, your integrity, your depth, it speaks louder than any applause ever could. You're not building for quick wins. You're building something that lasts, something that means something. At your core, you know applause fades. What lasts is purpose. What lingers is the impact you had on someone's life when no one was watching, the moments you chose truth over popularity, depth over performance, alignment over ego. That's the legacy you're writing, not with noise, but with intention. And in a world obsessed with recognition, your ability to keep showing up with heart, quietly, consistently, courageously, is not just, it's revolutionary.